Hello, my name is Madison Michaels, and this is my Science of Reading presentation. Oh, okay. We'll be talking about the science of reading, what it is, and how it's beneficial, and some of the theoretical models. So, the science of reading, I pretty much just typed up my own definition, and to my understanding, it is the combination of different techniques and methods that are used to um, help people read. Basically, it's the different things that are all combined all into one to help someone read, learn how to read fluently. I think a lot of people think reading comes naturally, and that is not true. Because if you think about it, or at least the way I think about it, is all these different languages and things, people don't just naturally pick up on those. You have to be taught. So we'll talk about more of that as we get through the presentation. The simple view of reading, it is research based and it focuses on the development of skillful reading comprehension. Um, this one specifically dealt with word recognition skills and language comprehension, and I put on here that without both of these two things, it would not be possible for a student to read and read well. Um, when these skills are lacking, it will affect other things, like their fluency, vocabulary, and many different other things. Word recognition skills, can come down to decoding, encoding, and all different things like that. You have to excuse me, I'm snotty. um, Scarborough's reading rope. This was actually one of my favorite ones because it's the one that I understood the most. This rope is illustrated as different strands, and each individual strand is put together and all intertwines with one another to help someone learn how to read. And as the picture shows, it has many different qualities, but this one also is language comprehension and word recognition, but it goes into background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures, verbal reasoning, literacy knowledge, sight recognition, decoding, and phonemic awareness. All these things are very important, and I think some of them, tend to be underrated, and that's why I like that it's represented in the reading rope. Specifically, background knowledge, I feel like a lot of people do not consider that or a person's schema to be important or relevant, but the more I'm in the classroom, the more I realize that that plays a big role in a student's reading process and how they process things and understand things. The next one that we're going to talk about was the four-part mental processor. The four parts were the context processor, the meaning processor, the orthographic, and phonological. I just put a few things about each of them in here. I'm not going to read them verbatim or anything, but the context processor helps us understand the meaning of words. Words can have different meanings depending on the way they are read. Um, the meaning processor helps us to match words and letters. Um, the orthographic processor is identified with a certain part of the brain to make sense of shapes of letters and symbols. And the phonological processor is the part of the brain that understands the combination of sounds create words. So all of these are just basically the way our brain understands and connects what we hear and what we see and what we're trying to read. Okay, I don't know how to say this. I'm just going to say Urey's model of phases. There are four, obviously. Pre-alphabetic, partial alphabetic, full alphabetic, and consolidated alphabetic. I just put a little bit of information, which it looks like it's getting cut off, but a little bit of information about each under them. The pre-alphabetic occurs before any alphabetic knowledge. So basically, it's like their background knowledge of it before they get to school, before they're being taught it, like just hearing it. Children pick up on a lot of things that they just hear. So it's just that. They're not specifically being taught anything yet. The partial alphabetic, they can read a few letters and they attempt to pronounce words, like they can know what some of the letters are, but they don't know what full words are. Full alphabetic is the reading is stronger. They can read certain words, and you can see how it just builds upon one another. And then the last one, recurring letter patterns become consolidated or unitized, so they're picking up on things. It gradually builds upon each other. Okay, phonological awareness. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I seriously underestimated phonological, phonemic awareness, phonics of any sort. I think this has to do with the fact that I can read. I didn't think it was really that important until I got my own classroom and realized, oh my gosh, this stuff is vital to a student's reading journey, how they learn to read. And I just put in here, phonological awareness is the process of identifying and manipulating sounds without using or seeing letters. One of the main things that I remember learning in school is that if you cannot do this in the dark, it's not phonological awareness. It has to be done in the dark. The students cannot be able to see any letters. It's just strictly sounds. So this automatically, obviously, makes me think of the Haggerty that we do every single morning in my classroom. And it's absolutely vital. I feel like that's why we have to do it so much. And it's what really helps our students. And it's one of the first processes that they have to go through. And if they can't get this down, they're going to have trouble more along the way. Phonics is where you start to bring in those letters. You can start trying to show that the ah is a. This is what an a looks like. Ah, a. That's where you connect this sound and you connect with what it looks like. So that way, when they are reading something and they see a, they know it's ah. So. Fluency, I put a little bit here about how it's defined as the ability to read, speed, accuracy, and proper expression. Fluency is extremely important. I'm trying to teach fluency to my students right now. I think it's easier to get with fluency the stronger the student feels in their reading, because I think if they are starting to read better, they might read out loud and their fluency gets better and better and better. But if they're already struggling and they don't like to read, and it can get hard for them because I feel like they struggle on each individual word. And so by the end of it, it was very choppy, it wasn't fluid, and then that affects their comprehension. So fluency is extremely important. And it has to do with, are they able to decode quickly? Can they pick up on those words quickly? So if they don't have the phonological awareness, the phonics, and all those things down, fluency is not happening. Vocabulary, obviously we know vocabulary is very important. It's just building their vocabulary. Instead of using big, could you say large? You just build up your vocabulary, and that happens through reading, hearing things, and just everyday life. Code emphasis versus meaning emphasis. I put on here how code emphasis requires students to learn specific codes or a set of words. It's made in a controlled setting and chosen by the teacher. And then meaning emphasis encourages the use of whole word reading, and it introduces a large variety of words that appear in different types of text. So they're very different. Orthographic mapping, it is the mental process we use to permanently store words so that we can pick on them quickly. And you can see where this would affect someone's fluency and their comprehension. Having a good understanding of how words are stored will determine what we teach and how we teach it. Let's keep going. In my conclusion, all of these skills are vital to a student's reading process. Reading, like I said, does not come naturally, and we have to teach students all of these skills. And reading is a skill that takes practice. It really does. It takes a lot of practice, and I think the more that we practice and the more that we teach and we build up on these skills, the better students' reading will be. Thank you.